Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I am so honored to be here with Aleeza Ben Shalom from Jewish Matchmaking. Hi,
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Lindsay.
thanks for coming on. I don't even know where to start. There are so many questions that came in for you, but we'll start with a question for you about you, which is what is your favorite romantic gesture?
Oh, well, let me start by telling you what my least favorite romantic gesture is, because that's what first pops into my head. But it's a funny story. The short story is flowers, although I love sunflowers and that I would accept always. But I just remember being pregnant and my husband bought flowers, and then as they die and the smell, and I'm like, you have to take them out. And I started to cry, and he's like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, the flowers, they're making me sick. So we have this joke. He's like, I'm never buying you flowers
That is
again.
so funny.
But my husband actually recently, this is very cute. He started sending me like he made his own little, emoji, like his Gershon emoji, which is a really cute emoji. And he's like kind of been like a little cheerleader, like, yes, good job, way to go, like with all these cute little emojis. And I'm like, oh, that's my love language, words of affirmation. And
Yeah.
so to me, that's my really romantic gesture. And he's really cute in this little emoji.
That's so cute. I love it. I've never been good at making myself an emoji. I always like see myself differently.
Yeah.
But when someone's really good at it, it's so cute. I
It,
love
it
it.
nails him. I mean, I can pull up the emojis and show you if you want to
Yeah, I
see.
kind of want to see because I know
You
what
want
your
to see
husband looks
because
like
they're
from the
so stinking
show.
cute. And if you saw him in the show, then you totally know. You'll be like,
No, I
yeah,
did.
that's him. And each one's cuter than the next. So, oh gosh, he's so funny. I love him.
But does the emoji have the beard or?
Hello. Wait. Okay. So he writes here first, I wrote loving you, and then he put this
Oh,
little
so cute.
such a cute emoji with the hearts and the beard and the whole
So
thing.
cute. I
He's
love it.
adorable.
I love it. How long have you guys been married now?
20 years.
Wow, congratulations. And I
Thank
have to ask because I'm into astrology over here. It's kind of like my religion. I'm Jewish as well, but when are your birthdays?
My birthday is March 4th, and I am a Pisces, and
Hmm.
it is August 9th, and he is a Leo.
Oh,
And
I
Pisces
love
and Leo
that.
go very nicely together. I know.
Yes, they do. So do you ever take into consideration people's zodiac signs when you are matchmaking? Because I didn't hear it on the show really.
So there's this Jewish concept that we are kind of above the stars, above the mazel of the zodiac. And there is an essence to it. There's definitely a truth to it. It exists because there's something real about it, but we're not bound by it. So it's not a limitation like, oh, because you were born at this time, this is the greatest and the most that you could ever reach. It's just the same way you might have a certain personality type. It just gives you a little bit of a flavor of who somebody might be, but it doesn't tell you who they could become.
Mm,
So yes, and it's not something that I hyper focus on, although people who know about it and like it do tend to fall for the same types of people. But I see without asking about birthdays, it just naturally happens. It's not something I have to actually line up.
yeah, yeah, got it. Oh, so I have been like a huge fan of yours ever since I watched the show Jewish Matchmaking. I I do some like, matchmaking on the side, nothing like what you do.
Good.
But I do have three couples who are married. So I think that means I'm going to heaven, right?
Okay, can we talk about this?
Yes.
I need a rabbi, a rebbitzin. I need somebody who knows the answer to this question that's different than what I'm going to tell you. It's a very common, I'm going to call it myth, that if you have three matches, you go to heaven. And there is no source for it that I have found in Judaism. However, making a match, for sure, it's a mitzvah, it's a good deed. It will earn you a good place, a guarantee that you're going to be in heaven. I don't know if there's any guarantees.
Yeah.
And it's not, but there is this concept and people have it. This is like, we all think it. I thought it also. And I started asking around, great, three matches and you go to heaven. Where's the source? Nobody has a source. So I am
Right.
challenging the world to present me with a source
Present us
so I
with a
can say it's
source.
true. It's true.
We need to know that we are good.
No, but
Uh,
we are good. Everything that we do in terms of matchmaking, they say it's as difficult as splitting the sea. This is so difficult to do, to bring two people from two worlds, from two families to live together for a lifetime. It is extremely difficult to do. And when you can do it, yes, there is the ultimate good that can come out of that. Children and grandchildren and communities and families and businesses and the greatest way to build the world is through matchmaking.
Yeah, I love it. And as someone who does it like very much casually, and you obviously have built an amazing career around it, how did you decide to take it more seriously? Because I feel like us Jewish women, we're all matchmakers to a degree, but for you to, step it up and be as legitimized as you are, how did you decide to take it to the next level?
It came about organically. I started as a matchmaker online. I loved getting to know people, trying to set them up. I started to coach them, and that was also great. And that was also a part of the matchmaking process. And then we had a couple kids, and America went into a little bit of a recession, and the housing industry took a nosedive. And my husband's like, "You need to get a job." And I was like, "No, I have one. I am a matchmaker." He's like, "Oh, good. You need to get paid for what you do. I don't really care what you do. It's great. Go be a matchmaker, but build a business, do something. Like, I got to pay the electric bill this month and I need help." So he said, "Build a business." And he was very supportive, loving, and encouraging. And I told him, I was like, "I don't want to do anything else in the world. This is like it. This is my thing." He's like, "Bevakasha, do what you're meant to do, but also just yalla, let's help pay the bills."
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And speaking of paying the bills, like how does one decide what to charge their clients? And I don't know if you explicitly, say the number, but I'm curious because there are matchmakers in New York City where I live, who charge a ton of money. It's like $20,000. And I don't know, maybe that's the standard, maybe that's the norm. How do you decide? And are men and women charge the same amount?
It's a great question. There are different people who run their businesses differently in how they do it. And my business has been an ever evolving process. And over the years, we've gone in one direction and another. So we leaned heavy into coaching, and I've seen many, many, many clients just through the matchmaking coaching process, meaning with a matchmaking lens, with a marriage-minded lens, but using coaching tools. We have gotten hundreds of singles to the chuppah through that. We've also been in a tremendous referral source from other matchmakers to help couples through the process. And then we've also delved into the matchmaking realm, and we've kind of done low, medium, and high-end matchmaking. So high-end matchmaking, like you're speaking about, ranges from numbers like you're talking about and much higher as well. It's hands-on, it's white glove service, it's coaching, it's matchmaking, and it's us. It's like a headhunter getting you a job. Would you like your dream job? We are going to go in search of it. And it works very differently for different people and how they handle it. In terms of the medium or lower end, we have courses, we have coaches, we have matchmaking curriculums, like a do-it-yourself. You want to learn everything that we know how to do? Let me teach you how to do it. We train other matchmakers. We train singles to be their own matchmakers. And then we have a baseline matchmaking service, which is online matchmaking. And like $35, you can have somebody professionally trained from our team sending you matches and helping to make something happen.
I love it. I love it. Can you give us any update on the characters from Jewish Matchmaking and their dating lives? Are you still in touch?
I am in touch, absolutely. I love, love, love the people that I worked with. And we are after the 30 days, so I can give you some updates, but I can't tell you. I can tell you that we know that none of the people got married on the show. There were some people from the show, whether it was my client or what we're going to call the dater, the person that I brought in to date them, that I set them up, and now they're dating seriously, but I can't tell you who.
Ooh.
But it's very exciting, a little hush hush, because things are going really well. And there's a couple of people that have reached out and said, if anybody asks you if I'm single, I'm not. So don't try to set me up because it's going well. But everybody also, like, their lives it went from complete privacy to everybody in the world wants to know who I am, what I'm doing, how I'm doing, and tell me every intimate detail of your dating life right now. And so it's been a little bit of a challenge. So I will tell you who's told me I could share with you that they're looking. Harmony is looking for love, and she would love to find her person, and I would love to find her person. So if you are her person, you should call her or call me. And Nikisha and Danny also. And I know Noah in Israel, he said, listen, Aleeza, you got my head on straight about dating, but I'm going to take a dating break because you taught me how to do it right.
Mm.
And there's a lot of pieces moving now, and professionally, he's very involved. And Cindy made an announcement in Israel that she is dating somebody, and it's not Noah. I don't know why. We did an event togetgether, and the three of us were together, the two of them were together. And we had
So everyone
people
thought.
yeah, people were like, oh my gosh, are Cindy and Noah dating? And they're like, no, we're just friends because of the show. But there was a very like warm, sweet photo of them together because you get into this boat together and you become close. And so she's dating somebody and it's going really well. And we know Shia got engaged.
Yes.
And, yeah. And that's really exciting. Faye, everything's hush hush. So we respect privacy.
Mm-hmm.
And Stuart is single and looking, and he would love to be set up.
And what about Ori?
And Ori, things are going well for Ori. He's happy.
Okay, good. I have to just say what's on everyone else's mind. You were so nice, so just gracious with some people who were a little bit more demanding than others, like Ori. How do you have the grace to not be like, okay, what you're asking for is a little ridiculous, you know?
I have heard things far more particular than Ori's requests. I think Ori is a person that people are kind of pigeonholing and going, oh my gosh, such preferences. And I'm going, what, you didn't have preferences when you got married? Because I did, and I could tell you there were even little nuances in my mind that I realized after. I was like, oh my gosh, I was actually paying attention to that. Like I didn't put it on my list, but it was there. And if it hadn't have matched, I would have been upset about that. And people would have said, what? For real? Like even something like being a really good driver. My father's a good driver. I wanted my husband to be a good, safe driver. It's a thing. And I've been in a car with a lot of different people. And I held on and prayed the whole ride going,
Right.
you get me there safe, whatever you want, I'm yours, So something like that I didn't even actually think about when I was dating, but when I was going through the process of evaluating, had he been a poor driver, it's possible I would have just nixed him immediately, even if other things had been very much aligned.
Right.
So Ori and people like Ori get a bad rap, but what you don't see or what people miss is the essence of who Ori is. He's playful. He's fun. He's humorous. He likes to joke around. That's just a part of his persona, which kind of puts you at ease, right? And he really does have a deep heart and soul that's there. You see, he's a family man, and that's something that's really beautiful about him. And when you understand who somebody is at the core, at the essence, and you see their beauty, and they show the inside, and then they go, yeah, and here's the outside. I want the outside to look like this. And you're like, oh my gosh, how could you say something? Well, everybody says that. So I just see him as a person like any other person who has his good and has his preferences. And then we just try to find them. He doesn't get under my skin. People that are rude or obnoxious or just not kind people, they get under my skin. People that have preferences, that's called dating. I just think it's normal.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I guess there are a lot of women versions of Ori. I think it's just like we're more sensitive to it when it comes from a man because we're like, that's not right, But I guess women, have that.
I have a lot of particular women. He has to look a certain way with or without hair. Everybody has their preference, how much money he earns, what kind of family he comes from, what kind of car he drives. Like there's all these conversations that are happening. Women are for sure doing it too. Picky preferences. Like you could use picky as negative. So I don't use the word picky. I use the word preferences. And I personally think that everybody has preferences. If you don't have preferences, you're not really human. We are designed to know what we like and don't like. Our nose tells us if something is good or spoiled, right? Our eyes do the same thing. And when we connect with somebody, our emotions do the same thing. It either triggers us for the good or it doesn't. It's either a point of connection or a point that will never be a connection. Right. And these are all signs of how we make things work. And for some people, they hyper focus on the outside. And then for me, I pray that the inside really matches what they're looking for, because I know that the inside is really the key and the outside has to be pleasing enough.
Right. Very wise. Because you are so kind with your clients, I'm curious, like, do you / would you ever say something to a client if you thought that they had toxic behaviors or tendencies when dating?
Absolutely. And I think also you see, I mean, now we're on a little bit of an Ori line, but you see, I was playful with him, right? And I was like, colored contacts and hair dye, we're good, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
laughed and he laughed, but he wasn't really laughing, right?
Right.
Wasn't really good with him. But I have also learned the art of just being direct and being straightforward with somebody and being able to say, you said you want this, and you're only going for that, and that doesn't add up to me. And what are we going to do about that? And I think I did that a little bit with Harmony. I think that she knew that I really wanted a high quality human for her, and that I wasn't really willing to compromise on the inside. And I was bringing her somebody that was really strong on the inside that I hoped would grow on the outside, and that we'd have the patience to build a relationship with. But it doesn't always work that way. But I was direct. This is what I want for you. I
Right.
want a good human. And she knew it, and she believed it. And she said, I trust you, Aleeza, right? Like I get it. But even again, I could be direct, but you see the results, it doesn't necessarily change the outcome. So being direct is smart when it's going to be effective. If it's not necessarily going to get you the results you need to get, then being direct is only good if it's kind. And I
Right.
think that that's how it worked with Harmony. It was direct, but it was sweet. It was playful. It was kind. It allowed her to grow at her own pace. And she told me what worked for her. And we did stretch. We got her as comfortable as she could be with the situation that we presented her.
Yeah, that's true. I want to talk a little bit about your traditional ways. One of your views is that living together before marriage isn't necessary. But does that mean that it's not okay, or you're okay with it? It's just not necessary.
It's not necessary. I'm going to refrain from giving you my judgment on okay or not okay. I think if you look at it statistically, it decreases the successful marriage rate. It does not actually increase it. So if it was neutral or increased it, we could have a conversation. If it is not neutral and it decreases the success rate of a couple, then I'm really not interested in it. Put Judaism aside, that's a statistic that we can go, what does that mean, and why is that happening that way, and how can we overcome that? I think the process of building a relationship together that lasts a lifetime happens with a commitment that says, I'm for you and you're for me, and we're going to figure this out. And I think that we have to have clarity before living with each other. We have to understand the person that you are and the person that I am. This works. All those little details, you miss the laundry basket when you throw your socks in, and you kind of leave toothpaste in the sink and it's irritating me, and the dirty dishes, and right, those things are problematic. But if we're talking about personality flaws, that's got to come out. You don't need to live together to find a personality flaw.
But going into these statistics, I learned, because I did some research, in former episodes, that the reason that more couples who lived together before they got married, let's say, get divorced or don't work out, is because of the reason that they moved in together.
Yeah, because they wanted to try it out to see if it could work, and then it didn't work.
Well, so for New York, for example, the
Yeah.
reason is because rent is expensive and we
Right.
need to save money. That's
Right.
not a reason. That in my mind is not a good enough reason.
Right.
But I think that if you move in with someone because you're I want to spend every moment with them and I can't wait to marry them, then that is 1000% a positive reason and cannot have any negative effects. But if you're moving in because of logistics, if you're moving in because of trial, if you're moving in because, you're testing your partner, then I feel like it's bad energy to start. But if it's because oh my God, I love this person, our leases are up and nothing to do with money, I want to be with them, then I feel like it's
Why not
okay.
marry them? Why not marry them?
Well, because if you have only been together for a year or a little less, depending on your age.
How much time do you need to figure out who's your person? I don't think secular, religious, Jewish, not give me any human being in the world. I do not think you need longer than 6 months to figure it out. You don't have to do anything about it, but I don't think you need longer than 6 months to know that that's my person. If you're taking longer than 9 months, if you're taking over a year, we have a problem. You need to figure this out, and you don't need to live together to figure it out. And living together isn't going to increase the likelihood of the relationship working out, and it's not going to strengthen your relationship. And if we're looking for longevity of a relationship, I want what's best for the relationship long-term. What it is likely to do, and you said that it isn't going to cause harm, actually it is. The person who gets broken up with after living together and thinking that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you and my hopes and my dreams are all in the bucket of you. I only moved in with you because I thought that that was going to happen. I would have never done that. I wouldn't do things like that. And then you break up with me a year later, or 6 months, or 2 years, or whatever the time frame is. It's as if it's a divorce. It is extremely painful. It is extremely difficult. And they didn't even get the joy of the marriage. They didn't even get the commitment, and now they're broken up with after giving their heart over without any sort of commitment. So I think there is an enormous risk of people breaking, not just breaking up, but internally breaking from a relationship that doesn't actually last. And then I see them on the flip side. Oh, yeah. Oh, I haven't been dating for the last 5 years. Why? What's the story? Well, let me tell you, I moved in with my boyfriend and we lived together. Moved in with my girlfriend. She broke my heart. I haven't gotten over it in the last 5 years. So I think that there's an enormous, enormous risk, and moving in together makes the stakes so much higher, because it's as if we're married, we just don't have a certificate. So we got married really because we just took everything, and I'm yours and yours mine, you're mine. Great, great, great. We pulled it all together. We played house together, and then you're breaking up with me. So it's like a divorce. So pick your person, and don't avoid making a decision. It's not really about making a decision. People can do and will make a decision in a much shorter time frame. If they need more time, it could be due to poor health. It could be due to finances. It could be due to family. There's a lot of reasons it could be a thing, but it's not usually because they're unsure about the other person. If they're unsure about the other person, they're not usually unsure about them. They're usually unsure about what's going on with themselves and what they want. And they don't usually want marriage, or if they do, they don't want it today, or if they do, they don't want it at the same pace that the other partner is moving at. So I see it as a high risk. It ends up with a lot of broken people back in my boat, which I don't want to see. And I would love to see long-term, happy, healthy relationships that last a lifetime.
I hear you, and you make very good points.
We can agree to disagree also.
Yeah. But what I will say is that I'd hope that, because men are usually, the ones who ask you to move in together. They're usually the ones who ask you to be their wife in a hetero situation, right? So I would like to think that if a man takes that next step of moving in with you, but this is just like me being optimistic, of course, but that he knows already, or at least that you've had some kind of conversation that you both know that it's going to lead to
that is a big fat shake of the head. No, that is the biggest myth that women talk themselves into, which is why they choose to move in, because he must be feeling more because he said yes. He might have said yes for a lot of other reasons. Like you said, maybe he can't afford his rent. Maybe he's tired of his other living situation. Maybe he's in between jobs. Maybe you're Mrs. Right now, but he knows you're not Mrs. Right, but you're Mrs. Convenient, and he's not planning to get married for the next 5 years anyway. So you're just good enough for the time being. No, it's absolutely not true.
Yeah, I hear you. I just am speaking from experience with my husband, and all of my friends who are married did live with their partners first. But we also live in New York City, where things are very different probably than the rest of the world. And we are none of us are religious in that way. But I do have more religious Jewish friends who swear by that rule.
So let me just two things. I don't want to be thrown into a religious boat. I grew up secular. I became observant. I know both worlds very well. And I work with clients all over the spectrum. What you saw on the show, that's normal for me. I always work with secular people. I've worked with atheist people. I've worked with religious people. I've worked with everybody across the spectrum. I respect everybody's decision. But if you're asking me, what do I value and what do I know to be true in a relationship and in any relationship, whether it's secular or religious, I can tell you what I know to be true. And I can tell you that I end up with, like, I'm glad that your girlfriends and for you that it worked out, but how many boyfriends did they move in with that it didn't work out with? And how many other people that didn't talk to you, talk to me and are crying their hearts out? The men are equally as crushed and brokenhearted, when even more so sometimes than the women. And it's completely devastating. It is a divorce for them, and they come back broken. So I just want to be very careful. And I don't want anybody to have the false hope of, if I move in, then it must be because something's going somewhere. It's a nice thought, but it's just not factual. So I want to be clear. I don't have a judgment whether you do or you don't do it. It's your choice. And I'm not saying whether you should or you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that there is a high risk of something going really wrong and ending up where somebody needs a lot of support because they have a really big broken heart. So is it worth the risk versus the reward? That's up to you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of risks, one of your notions, and I'm so curious about this one, is not touching until getting married. Is that it? Or did I mess that up?
No, that's Shomer Negia in an Orthodox context. From the show, I presented Shomer Negia with a modern twist so that the modern non-religious dater could relate to it. And I said, let's give this a try. How about no touching for 5 dates?
Okay.
Think about it this way. If you go out with a guy and he doesn't touch you for 5 dates and he asks you out on a 6th date, what do you know about him?
He likes you, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
He's never going out with you 6 times with not touching you and not liking you. It's just not possible. It works for men and it works for women, secular, religious. It makes no difference. If you are not touching, he likes you, your personality, your values, who you are, what you're about. He likes you. And you like him. You're both in it. I actually know both things about both sides, that there's some potential here. And then whatever you do, like Aleeza turns a blind eye and the world goes on and everybody lives as they live. But if you are a clarity seeker, this is the single best way to get it. And you play it like you play any game. Play a game. It's just a game. It's the Aleeza game. Let's not touch for 5 dates. Oh, you dumped me after 3? You don't have to go home crying. He or she didn't like you. Who cares? Next, let's move on. Clarity in 3 dates, and I didn't have to wait three months with you. I didn't have to move in with you to figure that out.
Right. I like that a lot. For some reason, someone had written in that it was until marriage, but
that's correct. That is the Orthodox practice, and that's called Shomer Negia.
Yeah.
What I put on the show is that's for people who live their lives that way, who choose to date that way. A lot of Mormons, Christians, Muslims, Hindus, there are religious, faith-based people and Jews that live this way. We all follow something very similar. And in the secular world, that's not going to happen. So I said, let's take wisdom from our tradition. Let's make it modern. Let's make it totally palatable. And if somebody can't handle 5 dates, I say 3. If they can't handle 3, I say 2. If you can't handle 2, go get yourself a therapist.
Yeah, I love that. My question to you is, what about like hand grazing, like at the table? Or is it?
If you would like the most, and you're married, right?
Yeah.
Right. So if you just try Shomer Negia with your husband and not touching him, you should try a whole week. Forget about 5 days. I give you the 7-date challenge.
Yeah.
Just don't touch him for a week. No hand grazing, no nothing. Completely separate. You know, if you could even sleep in the other room or something. Don't touch him for a week. And then say, tonight's the night. Okay, finally.
Oh my God.
Can I tell you, the way that you felt on your wedding night should be a similar feeling. You are able to bring back something, that excitement, that joy, that enthusiasm that you can't otherwise capture. People run away on vacations. They pay therapists lots of money. They try every trick in the book. They read every book. They do anything to recapture the romance, right? And people think by pouring more romance in, more flowers, more dinners, more this, that's going to fix your relationship. Actually, if you try not touching, it's going to fix your relationship. It's the most miraculous thing. My desire for you builds. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Well, think about what it does to the body. it makes my
Right.
desire for you increase because I couldn't touch you. And now like I'm practically getting cranky. I want to touch you, right? Enough already.
I
And
actually love that.
hey, can you check? Can you please do it? And then I want you to come back on. I want you to tell you come back on with me. We'll tell everybody. I want to know how
Yes.
it goes.
Yes, 100%. And I actually think that that's what we should be telling people who are like, how do you keep the spark alive? You know, it's so, we're bored. It's been 3 years, blah, blah, blah. Try not touching for 5 days or a
Yeah.
week.
And then make your date night like this is our night and
Mm.
have a special
And it's
night.
like the first time
It
again.
is. It's amazing.
Oh,
So
that's so
Orthodox
hot.
women, we and men, we do this every month. Every month there's a separation period, right? That we're together and that we're not. That's why our marriages are very strong. We practice that all the time. It's also in modern psychology. If you look this up, it's proven that again, I don't hold much by statistics, right? 75%
Yeah.
of all statistics are wrong, but there are numbers that say that this leads to a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage. And I can tell you that it does. And again, if you can't do 7 days or 5 days, try 3, try 1, try anything, whatever your tolerance level is, like workouts, let's lift 5 pounds, then 10 pounds, then 20 pounds. Let's build it up. And you'll see it just brings out so much more joy and play. You got to have a lot of play in your relationship.
Right.
It's good.
I love that. I really do. Another one of your mantras, and this I absolutely love, is date them till you hate them. And I have a date until you hate them. I have a similar version of this, which is just like if you weren't miserable after your first date, go on a second. But
it's the same thing. It just doesn't have a ring.
yeah, exactly. Yours is better. But what if they don't put in the same effort? If you're dating till you hate him and they aren't, then what?
Right. Well, then the date's over.
Right.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm doing to help the world. We just had a billboard flash in Times Square, and it had a picture of me, and it had date them till you hate them.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we're trying really hard to spread the word about this process and to make it a universal thing. The reason that I also made it so playful with the language, probably as you get to know me, probably hate is my least favorite word in the dictionary. And it's nothing that I would ever want anybody to do. It's so opposite that it's so memorable. So in addition to being a catchy phrase, you're like, oh my gosh, why would Aleeza say that? That's like, ugh, who says that? No, I don't want anybody to hate anybody, but I do want them to give them a real true chance and to just make it happen and try it out. And even Harmony said after her second date with Aaron, she was like, no, like he grew on me. It softened on me. And you're like, right. No, but I don't want that to happen. No, that you do want that to happen. I mean, your brain doesn't want that to happen, but Aleeza does.
Yeah.
Knows that it works.
It's that slow burn.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have all of this information from so many people that have come to you. What would you say is the number one thing that people overlook in terms of compatibility?
Oh, in terms of compatibility, give me a moment to think. So people focus on personality for sure. People focus on hobbies and interests. People focus on family and backgrounds. I would say true goals, true life goals. Who are you? What do you want to accomplish in the world? Tell me 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. Where will you be? Now, we don't know what's going to happen, but we play a little bit of a game where we vision out our future together. And where am I going to be and where are you going to be in 50 years? And how are we going to end up at the same spot? So I'll just take myself as an example because it's the easiest thing right now. My husband and I had this discussion about moving to Israel. This was one of our goals, one of my deep life goals. And he was interested. And he said, yeah, of course it's my life goal. I said, yeah, you don't sound like it's your life goal. Like it's my life goal. Like I'm in. And you're like, in. So when we were dating, I said, we'll make Aliyah one day. We'll move to Israel. He said, sure. I said, okay, when? And he looked at me like, what? And I was like, right. Goals. He's like, 10 years. I was like, oh my gosh, 10 years from when we get married? That's too long. I said 5. He's like, oh, it's too short. Okay, 7. We'll go in 7 years. And we had this life plan to go in 7 years. And I wouldn't have married him if he didn't agree to make Aliyah and move. That was part of one of my life goals, that if he wasn't on board, I wouldn't have chosen him as my husband. Well, wouldn't you know it, 7 years comes around and we chose not to make Aliyah. It wasn't the right thing for our life. We spoke to our mentors and our guides, and there was not the right support, and it was definitely not the right time.
Can you just explain what make Aliyah means, just for our listeners?
Making Aliyah means that you are going to move to Israel. Aliyah, le'alot, the root of the word, means to go up. And it's a spiritual going up, but it's a physical move from wherever you are in the world to the land of Israel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you. So it wasn't the right time. And I said, great, well, when's the right time going to be? You know, we made this deal. We have this plan. We have this goal. And my husband's like, I don't know. And for a bunch of years, from year about 6 to about year 16, it was a very forgotten goal. We had children, we were building a family, we were living in a community in Philadelphia, and it wasn't an achievable goal. It didn't seem to be the right time. And we kind of made a deal, like when the right time came, you know, when we as Jewish people didn't feel safe in America, when we saw signs of the world just being very different than it was, we were going to choose to go. And I made him commit, right? We are going to go. Yes, yes. And I made him reaffirm the goal. And then when COVID happened, I looked at him and I went, okay, now's the moment. We have to go, right? World's changed. World's different. I'm not feeling super safe here in America. We need to go. And he said, when? I think he was thinking 5 or 10 years. And I was like, now. He's like, can you define now? I was like, yeah. I don't know. How quickly can we move? 6 months? He's like, a year? I was like, oh, no. We ended up moving in about 8 months, but that was a goal. That was something very deep. And there's more things like that. How we want to raise a family, where we want to live, who we want to be in the world. And even me, we didn't have a plan for me to work full time. We had a plan for me to be a wife and a mother, to work part time, for him to work. That was our goal. We wanted that one parent was home. And when we moved to Israel, I said to him, listen, I think as a part of our life goals, we believe in raising our children. Somebody's got to stay home, but I want to grow my business. Your business is not transferable. Are you willing to stay home? Do you want to play Mr. Mom? And I'll try to work and I'll try to make a go of this. And he said, yeah, I'd love to raise my kids and I'd love to have an opportunity. Are you sure you can pull this off? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to take the responsibility now and I'll let you know. I think I can do it. And thank God.
Killing it.
But it was
really
a life goal. It came about because what was our goal? To have somebody raise the family, one of the two of us raising the children and being there for them, and the other one going out to work and to build and do something really meaningful. And changing the world was one of our goals. We really had these big goals to change the world and to make a huge impact. And it's not my contribution. This is our contribution to the world. We are marriage minded. We built a family that we love, that we are so happy with. And all we want to do is help other people to do the same thing. This is our life goal. This is our life dream. So I'm out working and doing it in the public, and he's, second in line behind me doing this. But if he wasn't at home doing that, I wouldn't be out doing this, because then I would choose to be home, because that's our goal.
Right. I love that. And kind of on the other side of the coin, but perhaps this is the same or similar answer, is what makes a couple incompatible? Or would you just say it's a difference of life goals?
Life goals, personality. If you are triggering my fears, if I have everybody has fears, whether they're deep rooted or surface level, everybody has stuff. If you are triggering me constantly, it's not a good fit. If you have some really annoying habits that I just can't tolerate, that I am just not going to be a happy human if I marry somebody like that. All of those things would be incompatible if it's to a very bothersome, irritating level on a constant basis.
Yeah. Would you match people who have different politics today?
Okay, so politics is a touchy subject, and it kind of goes like this. If you're extreme on either side, you need somebody who's either like neutral middle, but or leaning towards where you're at to be okay with it. If you're neutral about your politics or somewhere in the middle, it doesn't always matter. People who are fanatical and very passionate about their politics, they either need somebody who's really in line or who just lets them do their thing and doesn't get in the way. And it's a non-starter with the conversations, but it's a hot topic.
Yeah. Other than your advice about the not really touching for the first 5 dates, do you have any other advice for early stages of relationships to set the foundation for a long-term marriage?
So I have this concept called you can only move as fast as the slowest person in the relationship. And I explained it to Faye on the show, actually. I think this one kind of like got glossed over, meaning it wasn't a big splash, but it's a really deep concept. If you think about it, when you're walking, jogging, right? You and I go jogging and you're fast, you're way up there, right? I'm catching up, but I can't get to you. There's no way for me to get to you. My body doesn't move at that speed. If you want to be beside me, you want to go together, buddy, buddy, you've got to go at my pace because I can't move at your pace. If I could, I would pick it up. Maybe over time, I will pick up speed. But today, I can't move at your pace, but you could move at mine. So you can only move as fast as the slowest person, which means if you are all in, if you like this person, if you're happy, if you're ready to go rah, rah, but the other person isn't on board, we can't move at the rah, rah speed. We have to move at the speed of the person who's wherever they're at in the relationship. And we have to nurture that along until we come to a similar pace and come to a meeting point. And that happens with marriage. If you think about your marriage also, sometimes you're in something, your husband's not, you just have to balance and adjust. Otherwise, instead of us going and pacing with each other, we start to pace, we pace in different directions, we pace at different speeds. It doesn't end up working out. We end up taking different paths.
But would you agree that it's better case scenario if it's the woman who's on the slower pace than the man?
Interesting. I'm thinking it's never good either way. It's uncomfortable.
Agreed.
For either person. I like that the man is more invested than the woman.
Because a man should love a woman a little bit more.
I happen to agree with that statement. Yes.
I'm so glad you agree. My last question for you is, do you think keeping a relationship private gives it a better chance of surviving in this whole social media age?
Yes. Yes. I actually have a quote. I don't have my book here. In the back of my book, I have a quote about things growing in the dark. You know, like when we go to sleep, what happens? We grow when we rest, right? And we keep things quiet in the dark, hush, hush. Then we are able to grow something. For sure in the beginning stages and even in the beginning middle stages of a relationship, it's better that it's quiet. Yes.
I have a hard time with it, but
I know. Okay, so you have to have your inner circle, but like, you know, for you, your inner circle has to be like 3 because 5 turns into 10. It turns into
no, I agree with that. I was very hush hush about my husband when we first started dating until I knew it was something serious.
Right.
And then I was like shouting it from the rooftops.
Right.
But I do agree in the beginning, privacy is key. Especially even if like you're excited for a first date and like you're telling all your friends, that puts pressure on it to go well.
Exactly.
Aleeza, you are so amazing. Can you leave us with a quote or piece of advice, even though you've given us so much of both? That we
you have to get my traditional Aleeza bracha. Everybody gets an Aleeza blessing. Aleeza bracha is my full name. Bracha means blessing. So I love to leave people with a blessing because sometimes there's just no other words to say or express that. There's a concept in Judaism, words from the heart enter the heart. So that's what I think that a blessing is. I think that those are the words from my heart that I want to enter other people's. So for anybody who is single and searching, I like to start with May. May you meet somebody wonderful. May you both have clarity and may it happen this year. And for anybody who is seeking to help somebody to find their soulmate, may you have much success. May you make many suggestions and may your patience increase over time so that you can do this job really well and help a lot of people get married.
I love it. I was so locked in. Thank you so much for taking the time. Where can everybody work with you, find you, read your writing, all of the things?
So you could find me on my website at marriagemindedmentor.com. And if you find me on Instagram, Aleeza Ben Shalom, all my links are in the bio. I'd love for people to follow me. We're just spreading light. If you want to spread light, come join me.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.